everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast, and of course, we got Stat Guy, we got PSG. Let's go, gentlemen.
What's up, guys? Was there a football game yesterday? Because I didn't watch a lick of it. I have been fighting a chest cold, so I tried to get.
There was actually 2 football games last night.
There was 2 bad football games. Yeah.
Oh, well, I know that the Vikings were in one, and since he ain't wearing a Viking shirt today, it makes me think that they not did so well.
No, they won 30. They won 30-12.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they played the Bears. They played the Bears. So they smashed the hell out of the Bears. And then the other game that was on ESPN was Falcons-Raiders, and it was exactly what you would expect it to be. Garbage.
It was a train wreck.
It was absolute garbage. But it was one of the things, I wrote down that, Kirk Cousins is struggling against the Raiders.
And Raheem Morris called him out last night.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah. Basically saying we're paying $60 million to a quarterback playing like a rookie. He needs to play better.
I mean, to be fair, his after-game on-field questions, he was like, yeah, we won. I played terrible. Paraphrasing, obviously. But, so he's aware of it. It's not like it's, he doesn't know that he's playing like trash.
Well, the fact that he knows it, they are fighting for a playoff spot.
Correct.
I can't imagine they're going to try to go to Penix now. You know what I mean? It almost, unless all of a sudden he can come in here and really turn around something. Like who do they play against next? See their schedule.
I'll pull it up right now. Yeah, there's
Giants. So actually, if you're going to put him in, that might be the game to do it. Be like, the Giants stink out loud. We should win this game by defense alone.
I think it'd be easier to have put Penix in had they lost yesterday.
Yeah, they have the Giants, the Commanders, and the Panthers as their last 3 games. So 2 of those games should be wins, which gets them to 9 wins. And then the Commanders, depending on where they're sitting in 2 weeks, if they have a playoff spot clinched, you could maybe realistically the Falcons could run the table and get to 10-7. And a lot of that hinges on the Commanders, where if they have a playoff spot clinched where they know win or lose.
Not with 2 weeks left, they're not going to do that. Not with 2 weeks left. They're going to play each one of those games, I can imagine. Interestingly enough, it's the Cowboys, the Panthers, and the Saints for the Buccaneers. So it's more likely that they're going to run the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The Falcons can't afford to go off of Kirk Cousins right now until they're mathematically eliminated. Because as long as they're still alive in the playoff hunt, they got to ride with.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to find out right away because Cousins, it's not like Cousins is getting any better.
No.
It's been week after week after week that he has been ass.
And this
Why
is
wouldn't
the game.
You have put him in here?
The thing is if you do that, it could end up like the Fitzpatrick Tua thing, where Fitzpatrick was on pace to get them to the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, Atlanta still can get there, right? They can still control their own destiny. So if you swap him out and then Penix struggles, you're basically throwing the season away. Now, next week, if Cousins comes in and, is just terrible and somehow loses to the Giants, then, yeah, obviously you make that switch, see what you have in Penix for the last couple of games, sure.
And what you could realistically do, too, in this situation, too, is being that they're playing the Giants, you could see a situation where you get both Penix and Cousins this week, where if the Falcons do what they should do and like what everybody else does against the Giants, where you beat the ever-living shit out of them, you could go to Penix in the second half and see what he's got. Because if you build a 3-score lead, like 17-point lead over the Giants by halftime or early in the third quarter, you build up a 17-point lead. That's kind of a way that you can get Penix into the game and just be like, let's see what you got. We're up by 7.
See but that does no good. That does no good. Like I'm looking at Like if he's got a 17-point lead in the first half, you have him finish it out because now he's playing well. You want to keep that momentum. You don't want to pull him out of that game.
What
That's
if he's
exact- I mean, that's what I would see.
what
So
if
the
he's
thing
got
is-
a what if he's got a 17-point lead and he's not playing well? Like what if it's a 17-point lead because Bijan Robinson has some touchdowns and the Falcons defense is just playing well, but Cousins
You wouldn't do it until the game got out of hand. Like you'd have to be up by 30 and then you start sitting guys, sure. But the biggest thing is as bad as the Giants are, you got to keep in mind they do lead the league in sacks, right? Like they have the ability to get after the quarterback. So it's entirely possible that you see Penix because they hurt Cousins.
Yeah.
Interesting. The Saints at 5-9 are still mathematically not eliminated yet from the playoffs. But that being said, as I'm looking at this, the Falcons are now in the 9th spot.
How can the Saints not mathematically be eliminated? There's only
Because their
3 weeks
division
left.
is terrible.
But don't the
Yeah.
Buccaneers have the tiebreaker over them though by beating them the first time?
Well, no, they play again.
Oh,
So
Well,
I mean,
Saints will be
ultimately,
eliminated on Sunday. The Saints get the Packers on Sunday at Lambeau. They'll be eliminated on Sunday.
yeah, I kind of expect that as well.
Yeah.
So you got the Commanders. The Commanders are in the 7th spot at the moment,
Yep.
and ultimately, the Falcons playing them not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. That's where that would make or break them completely.
It could make or break both teams because I don't see the Commanders beating Philly next week, which would give the Commanders 6 losses. Now you're heading into that game with Atlanta, where Atlanta comes in at 8-7. The Commanders come in at 9-6. If Atlanta wins, Atlanta leapfrogs the Commanders for that final spot.
Correct.
All of a
Now,
sudden, that opens the door to a wild card team from the West.
Yeah.
well, Seattle
Yeah.
they are in the 8th spot
Yep.
right now. So, and who does Seattle play in their
Seattle's
schedule?
got Minnesota.
The
next Sunday.
Vikings, Bears, and Rams.
So this week, really looking at Geno, right? So the MRI came back and it was a positive outlook. There's no damage to the knee. So in theory, he might be able to play. They have a shot against the Vikings if he's playing. If Sam Howell's out there, they're about to get the train ran on him.
So I got to imagine he's going to play. They'll probably put a brace on his knee,
Yeah.
and go to town. Like tape that thing up like it's like with that elastic tape on all sides, and give that all the thing. Put the brace on there. Have him go to town to give them the best shot to be able to go up against that. However, the following week you got on Thursday. You're traveling. The day after Christmas, you're traveling to Chicago.
Exactly.
That's not a simple game now.
No.
Even though Chicago stinks,
No,
that's
no.
not a simple game in a little bit.
They don't play exceedingly well in Chicago. It's going to be cold.
Is it?
The odds are high. But that being said, Seattle has played way better on the road than at home this year.
Yeah.
Like significantly better. So, who knows? As a fan, I'm like, come on, here we go. Let's win out. But as an analyst, you're looking at it like, man, it's about to be rough.
And I tell you, I'm so interested. Not this Sunday, but next Sunday. I almost want to watch the Saints and the Raiders play, so that I could watch the first quarterback ever to lose to all 32 teams.
But Carr's
David
playing.
Carr.
Carr's not playing.
He's not
Carr
playing
broke
at all anymore?
No, he
He's
broke
out?
his. Yeah, he ended up with a concussion and on the same play broke his hand.
Yeah.
No.
So
that's
he
not-
dove over the top and landed on his hand, and then his helmet hit the ground, and it was a wrap. So his season's over. So he'll have to wait till next year.
And the other thing that amazes me is that right now there's 3 teams in the NFC that are out. There are 6 teams in the AFC that are out.
Yeah.
That 4-10 Jets are out of the playoffs. 3-11, 3-11, 3-11, 3-11, 2-12.
Yeah, no, the AFC is the haves and have-nots, right? Like you're either good or you're bad.
Yeah, because like they said yesterday that every division in the AFC for the most part has been clinched besides the AFC North, which that'll ultimately be decided probably this weekend with the Steelers and Ravens playing. And then you look at the NFC, none of the divisions.
Actually, that will not be clinched. If the Steelers win, then it's clinched.
Yeah.
If the Steelers lose, they got to play the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. But then you look at the
Steelers
NFC.
are not a good team.
You look at the NFC, the only division that's clinched is Philadelphia, and you look at the rest of the NFC, there anybody can go from like Detroit, Minnesota. They can
We
go
haven't
from
clinched the East yet. So you got like Detroit
Oh,
and the
yeah.
Eagles and the Vikings all have clinched playoff spots.
And you can go, and the way things sit right now, Detroit, Philadelphia, Minnesota, whatever, they can go from the 1 seed down to the 6 seed, depending on how these last 3 weeks end up. That just shows you how like wide open the NFC is yet, because of Detroit.
Well,
all of a sudden,
that's what my point was. There's just so much depth to the NFC.
Yeah.
Right. Like the AFC is you're either good or you're not, and then the NFC is everybody's pretty balanced. Like there's a couple of teams at the top, a couple at the bottom, but the middle is very busy.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. And realistically, if the Eagles were to beat the Commanders, not only would they clinch the division, which they have not done yet, but because the Eagles could lose all 3 games, the Commanders could win all 3 games, and then it would have to go to tiebreakers on common opponents type things and stuff like that. So there's still a possibility, although albeit a small one, that the Commanders could do that, and the Eagles have this massive collapse, which I don't see happening right now. And immediately, either one of those teams clinches at least, at minimum, the number 2 seed.
Mm-hmm.
At minimum.
Yep.
So they could clinch the number 1 seed. However, if the Eagles are the only one that could clinch the number 1 seed, because there's no way that the Lions and the Vikings could both lose 5 games.
True.
So, yeah, because they have 3 games each. I mean, one of them is not going to lose 5 games.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, it's either can be the Eagles that can make the number 1 seed, the Vikings, or the Lions. I guess on a very weird outside chance, the Packers could too. The Packers lost twice to Detroit.
Lost twice to Detroit. They lost the first game.
And then they can't. Then they can't. It's impossible. Because even if they had to have played each other.
Well, it's not technically, it's not impossible, because if the Packers win out, they finish 13-4. If the Lions lose out, the Lions go 12-5. So the Packers can still finish ahead.
Right, but then the Vikings also go 13-4.
Yeah.
So there's no chance. Yeah. No chance. So that's why the Vikings are already clinched and the Packers are out.
Because if the Packers beat the Vikings in Week 17, then the Packers would have the tiebreaker over the Vikings. Because it's always that second division game that has the bigger tiebreaker than the first one. And the Vikings play
actually, it doesn't work that way.
Not anymore.
No, they are equal.
Okay.
That's where it has to go to other divisional games and stuff like that. Like right now, it doesn't even say let's go to the overalls so that
it's not that crazy, Joe. Think back to the couple of times that divisions have been won with losing records. Everyone else in the playoffs were better than them.
Yeah, it doesn't say here divisional records here currently, so
the division records on all the teams.
Yeah, on what I'm looking at on the score app, I'm not seeing it here. So
yeah, I know the Vikings are 3-1 in the division. Lions are 4-0 in the division, and the Packers are.
They lost at least 2.
2-2.
So, I mean, realistically, the Packers winning out and getting to 4 games, like I said, the Vikings or the Lions can't get below 4, unless a tie. A
Mhm.
tie, screws that all up too. But actually, a tie screws them both.
Yeah.
Screws the Packers either way. A win and a tie are the same. They'd have to lose, and there's no way that they can lose. Both of those teams can't lose 5 games because they
Mhm.
got to play each other. And even at a tie, they would wind up with 4. So the Packers can't win it. The Packers cannot win the division. So, and like I said, the only way that the Commanders could win the division is them winning out. In the process of playing this game, they hurt Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts all at one time. And, that point, then they could possibly do that because I can't see any other way that the Eagles are going to lose to the Cowboys and or the Giants.
No.
Yeah.
So they have that. Now, in the West, I mean, obviously the Chiefs are going to wind up with the number 1 seed. They've already clinched the division. Bills have clinched the division. The Texans have clinched the division,
Mhm.
which is,
Good for them.
yeah, I guess so.
They clinched the division of the poor and the blind.
100%.
I mean, hey,
So, and ultimately it looks like, I mean, the Chiefs, barring a collapse, are going to have the number 1 seed. Now, I guess, are they going to rest Mahomes this week?
No. They plan to play Mahomes this week.
Yep.
But being that they have the Wednesday game on Christmas Day, they may sit Mahomes on that game.
I don't think there's a scenario that Washington gets the number 1 seed there, Joe. Like mathematically, maybe.
They can't. No, they can't because if
otherwise they shouldn't be able to.
No, they can't because if Washington wins out, they end up 12-5.
And everyone else would have to lose out.
Well, Detroit would end up with 4 losses. Detroit would end up with 4 losses because either Detroit or Minnesota can only lose 2 of their last 3, and that would put them at 4 losses. So even if Washington wins out, somebody's going to have 4 losses. And
what do you mean? Oh, yeah, because one of them has to win.
They play each other that last week, so yeah, there's no way Washington can get the 1.
Yeah, well, and besides, I think they already lost one of the tiebreakers anyway. Mm-hmm. So Washington at best
2,
maybe.
The thing, the interesting is the interesting thing with the Vikings right now is they could be flexed into Sunday night both week 17 and week 18 right now. Because week 17 they have Green Bay, which chances are they're going to take the Dolphins and Browns out of that Sunday night game and put Packers and Vikings on that Sunday night game. Mm-hmm. And then if Detroit and Minnesota are playing for the division / the number 1 seed, that's going to be flexed into week 18 on Sunday night.
God damn, everybody on my team just got hurt this past week. Literally, like I'm in the playoffs now, and I got to get a running back and a quarterback. Because they're saying Patrick Mahomes, but they got Patrick Mahomes getting 1.2 points.
The thing with the Chiefs right now is they're in that stretch of 3 games in 11 days where obviously you kind of have to play Mahomes if he's healthy because you got to stay ahead of Buffalo so you get home field. So yep. they have to win realistically 2 of their last 3 games to clinch home field. But right now, if I'm Kansas City, if you can play Mahomes on Sunday, you play him on Sunday. And if you win on Sunday, I do not play him on Christmas Day, giving him only 2 days off. Sit him on Christmas Day, go with Carson Wentz on Christmas Day, then let Mahomes come back on week 18 and just clinch it on week 18. Because you can't afford to put him out there on short rest if he's still feeling sore.
Without Montgomery playing in Detroit, do you think they throw the ball a lot more?
I mean, Jared Goff threw for almost 500 yards last week with 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because I have both Montgomery
next week, I don't see
Williams.
This upcoming Sunday, I do not see Jared Goff throwing the ball a lot because it's supposed to be snowing and windy in Chicago on Sunday. I think that'll be
no. Snow, you throw. Rain, you run. Snow, you throw.
In the wind, though, in Chicago, I don't know if you can throw. Because if that's windy in Chicago,
yeah, you're doing small passes. Then you definitely want to throw. You're doing slants.
which Detroit does a lot of screens anyway. So I consider the screen game kind of Detroit's running game too, because they do a lot of screens to St. Brown and a lot of screens to Jamison Williams. So I could see them doing that just because we don't know if Jahmyr Gibbs can handle 20-25 carries a game. He gets like 20 touches a game, but it's realistically like 13 carries.
If it's in the snow, probably can.
Well, you look at the last 2 years, though. Like David Montgomery gets you about 20 carries. Jahmyr Gibbs gets you about 12 to 13 carries, and then he catches around 5 or 6 balls. We don't know if Jahmyr Gibbs can take 20 to 25 carries just because he's never seen that kind of workload before. So
yeah, but if there's actual snow on the ground, he'll be fine.
Well, yeah, no, for this game, yeah, but I'm just saying for the rest of the regular season, knowing that he doesn't have David Montgomery to give him a breather, nobody knows how he's going to hold up these final 3 weeks because he's going to be getting a crap ton more touches than he's accustomed to getting. And that body's going to be taking a bigger beating.
I'm more worried about their defense. Like they
don't have
more injuries and still suit up a defense.
They don't have a defense right now.
No, exactly. I mean, that offense is going to have to figure out how to have long, sustained drives. Like, even if you could get the home run ball, you don't want to because you need to get your defense to not be on the field as much as possible.
Well, they were talking about that this morning on Good Morning Football. Only 2 of Detroit's starting 11 defensive players are left, which means 9 of their opening week starters are left. Of the 25 players that they had on defense to start the season, because they had, I think they had 27 or 28 players on offense and 25 on defense to start the season. Only 7 of those 25 players are actually healthy, which means 18 of their defensive players from week 1 are either done for the season or currently injured. So the fact that they're still sitting at 12-2 is actually pretty impressive. But now you just have to wonder if these injuries have caught up to Detroit to the point where they're not going to be able to do what they've done all year.
Joe, there's no scenario where any game for Dallas is a big game this year.
I mean, in his defense, the only big game would be the Eagles game because if Dallas would beat Philadelphia, if Dallas could beat Philadelphia, he could essentially they could ruin Philly's chances to get the 1 seed. That would be the only big game out of those 3.
Yeah, all they can do is play spoiler.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe. Pay attention to soccer over there because ultimately there ain't no more football in Dallas this year. They stink.
Yep.
No, you're not entirely true. There's one more big game that's going to be in Dallas in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, I guess so.
College football quarterfinals will be in the Cotton Bowl on January 31st. So I guess there'll be one big important game in Dallas.
That'll only be the quarterfinals?
Yeah. The quarterfinals will be the Fiesta Bowl, which Boise State's got that one. The Rose Bowl
on the 31st of January.
January 31st. So the first round of the playoffs is this weekend, the 20th and the 21st. And then
this weekend.
Yeah. So the first round is the 20th and the 21st, and then you have like that stretch of like the smaller.
Then you have the quarterfinals next.
The quarterfinals are January 1st and December 31st.
Oh, December 31st, not January 31st. I'm like, that's dangerously close to the Super Bowl.
So December 31st, you have the Cotton Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. January 1st, you have the Rose Bowl and the Orange Bowl, or the Rose Bowl and Fiesta Bowl, and then you have the Orange Bowl and the other bowl like a couple weeks later in the national championship game, like the week before the Super Bowl.
We got everybody coming in today. We got Mascot Troy. We got El Wingador. The only reason why we're talking about Dallas, Bill, is because Joe is a Dallas Cowboys fan, and he happens to live in Italy. So this is one of his shows that he frequents.
Does he actually live in Italy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Maybe, yeah, we're international here.
I didn't know he had
a lot, but we get worldwide.
No, I knew we have people that come from worldwide, but usually they say like where they're from. I didn't know he was from Italy. I thought he was from here.
Yeah, no, we get him. We get Belgium. We get going off the other coast. We get Hawaii sometimes. So
yeah, and every once in a while we get Australia.
Yep.
I like Italy. Italy's fun.
Yeah,
yep. We've had a couple of Japan entries. So
I can't ever understand what they're saying.
I can't understand how they can read their pictures.
Hey, listen, if you speak the language, you can read the language, you know the language.
That's exactly right.
So, yeah, I have a feeling that I'm going to wind up losing in the playoffs because I have everybody. Oh, there you go, Sicily. There we go.
Yeah.
I've never been to Sicily. Yeah, so unless all of a sudden everybody else on my team does amazingly well, I'm going to get my butt whipped this week because I have to use Richardson as my quarterback if Patrick Mahomes ain't going to play.
Who does he play this week, Richardson?
Hold on, I will tell you right now. Well, whoever the Colts are playing, but he is actually playing against Tennessee.
Oh, he may get you some points against Tennessee.
They got him listed as 21 points. So thanks,
Yeah,
Bill. Appreciate that.
Yeah, he may get you some points against Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee does have a good defense, but I mean, he'll still get you points. They might force a turnover, but
yeah. So, and my running backs, I'm going to have to use Tracy from the Giants. He's going to be one of my better options, unless I'm able to pull off the guy from Cleveland who's listed now as a big deal, or even the guy from the Saints. But I don't trust the Saints even a little bit.
Well, not against. No, don't go with the Saints because they play Green Bay next week in Lambeau. Don't.
Green Bay gives up a lot of rushing yards. That's the only way that the Saints are going to be able to move the ball.
True.
Yeah.
So there's a piece of me that thinks that, but obviously I'm going to probably stick with the Giants because at least I got him on my roster already.
Right.
And the Giants are playing Atlanta, which also is not very good against the run. Although they did get a safety against the Raiders yesterday. Stop them from running out of the end zone. Safety.
Yeah, the Raiders are bad.
Okay, I want to know what happened to that
so
team.
are the Giants.
No question. No question.
I want to know what happened to the Raiders, though, because that team played so well last year for Antonio Pierce. And it's basically the same exact roster. Obviously, they don't have Josh Jacobs, which doesn't help. But, I mean, a lot of the players on that roster are the same as what they were last year, and that team just looks completely broken.
So Chubbs is hurt, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, he's talking about Ford, right?
Yeah, Jerome Ford is the one you'd be talking about in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's who I'm trying to pick up. Because Brown from Washington, the receiver, I had him on my roster because he did have a good week. I'm like, let me try to get him. Let me just try to pick up an extra receiver because this is the time where people get hurt. Well, he got hurt. And then, of course, I've had Stephon Diggs in my IR, and I removed him from the IR because I have Dallas Goedert, who went into the IR. But now I got Montgomery, who's also in the IR, and it's a little late in the season to be on the IR because there ain't no time.
Yep. Yeah, oh,
you're
yeah.
on the IR, you're done.
Yeah, exactly. It's a wrap.
And that's ultimately why I don't think Detroit even wins one playoff game at this point, because if David Montgomery hits the IR, he's done. Like, you can't bring him back.
You can.
No, if you're on the IR going to playoffs, I don't think you can take him off. I think the IR.
As long as it's not season
4 weeks.
IR,
4 weeks.
It's exactly. It's 4 weeks no matter what.
4 weeks. So if Detroit doesn't get home field, they'd have to play that first week, which he still wouldn't be available that first week. So I think that's why I think Detroit might not even win that first playoff game.
Well, again, this is where they're going to be at minimum number 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, no.
They can fall all the way to 6.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah, 6 is a little stretching it because that would be that means the Packers would have to flip flop with them. So I don't see that the Packers are going to be able to do that.
I think 5.
Let's put them at 5. So if they're 5, they're going up against 4, which puts them up against either
Tampa Bay, who's beaten them once already,
or the Rams.
Yeah. And 2 teams that, with how banged up Detroit's defense is right now, 2 teams that would light up Detroit's secondary.
Tampa is probably going to get the 3 seed.
which means they would get
I trust Tampa to get the 3 seed more than I trust the Rams.
which means they would get the Packers most likely as a 6.
Because Tampa's got Sister Mary the Blind, Sister Mary the Poor, and Sister Mary Sacred Heart.
Pretty much.
No, they got Sister Mary Clarence from Sister Act. They got to beat too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like literally the Giants, the Panthers, and who else was it? It was like the Raiders, maybe. I mean, it was like stink, stank, stunk.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I mean, if the Buccaneers get the 3 seed, chances are the Packers are getting the 6. So,
and that means that the Lions could get the 5 or the 2 or the 1.
Yeah, 5,
Yep.
2, or the 1, which puts them against the Rams most likely. Yeah.
However, I know that they lost a game against Buffalo, and realistically, the one play I saw, they almost recovered. Was the onside kick. So had they got that onside kick, they could have won the game, actually. So,
yeah.
But the funny thing is, have you heard Dan Campbell lately?
I mean, you got to be more specific because
As in kind of what he said after the last game. Like obviously the Lions are going to live and die by Dan Campbell's decisions.
Of course.
He is a gambler. He's going to gamble as much as possible, but he's starting to sound like he's starting to regret some of the decisions he's making.
Well, no.
You regret the early onside kick.
Yeah.
That's all he was talking about and he was referring to the way that it got fielded.
Yeah.
Because he's like, it was actually a great kick. He's like, looking back on it, had I known they were going to take it down to the 3, obviously would have kicked it away. So that's not indicating that he was going to change that decision moving forward. That was just, he regretted how it ended up.
That team's going to live and die by Campbell, and I think ultimately he is going to ultimately cost them something. He's going to cost them.
Well, that's why I got him. I had them going to the NFC Championship game, and just based on the fact that that he was going to over gamble, and that was going to be the way that the Eagles could win that game.
Yep.
That it was going to be mistakes made by the coaching of the Lions that would cause that and possibly get us there. Because as of right this second, even like right now, with as depleted as their defense is, it's our defense versus their offense.
Yes.
Because that's the game. That would be the NFC Championship game if that's the way it comes down. Because ultimately, I believe that our defense against their offense, that if we could keep them to 20 points, 23 points, thinking that like maybe 24 to 26 points, if that we could outscore them. Because their defense is not enough now to stop the running game.
No.
The truth of the matter is that the running game makes for short games, and they don't have that type of time. They got to score quickly because they got to have the defense. You almost need us to walk down the field. You don't want them to score fast.
Exactly.
But I think, I don't think that's going to even happen now. I think that it's going to be too much. I'm beginning to believe more and more that this is going to be a fan base Super Bowl. Eagles and Bills.
I mean, that'd be a good Super Bowl.
It'd be a good Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Lions and Bills would be good. Lions and Bills would be good too, just because the Lions have never seen the Super Bowl, and I think that with those fan bases right there would go at it.
I hear you. Well, the fan bases are fun. Is really what it is. And the Bills that would be a great game.
No question.
I'm surprised at how many points the Bills defense is giving up.
the Bills defense looks like today what we thought they were going to look like all year with the pieces that they lost in the offseason. Like, I thought that defense was going to be worse than it was all season. And now it's kind of where I thought they would be. Because they were playing out of their minds to start the season.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you have Josh Allen also playing out of his mind. So,
yeah.
I'd say he's probably sewn up the MVP talk at this point. Like, he would have to absolutely fall apart to not win.
Well, I mean, that was just because the Steelers are good against the run.
Yes.
So, and I knew that it was going to be a tough game for Saquon to be able to get his 100 yards.
Absolutely.
However, I don't think they're out of the mix yet. I think that they're going to run all over Washington. They're going to run all over Dallas.
And definitely the Giants.
I don't think you know what the matter is if he has the record, I wouldn't even play him against the Giants.
I know that what is he at right now? 1,700 something?
Yeah. Getting the record is going to be hard.
He would have to have at least one 200-yard game over the next 2 weeks to put himself in a position to not play against the Giants. Otherwise, they have to play him against the Giants because he'll be probably sitting at right around 2,000 or slightly over 2,000 entering that Giants game, which means he would basically need 100 yards against the Giants to get the record. Where if that's the case, they would probably pound him the ball 20 times in the first half to get it to him by halftime and then just sit him the second half.
Unless he doesn't care about it.
Yeah, which realistically he may not care because you saw that one sideline interaction with Nick Sirianni earlier in the season when he was going up against the
Giants,
where he's like, "You're 10 yards away from your career high. Do you want to go out and get it?" He's like, "No, I'm good." He's like, "Are you sure? If you want to do it
anyway."
He's like, "If you want to do it, I'll give it to you." He's like, "No, I'm good."
Let the other guys go eat.
That's right.
So he may not care about the record. Honestly, I think if it's the rushing record, it might be a little bit different than having your personal best.
Hold on, Joe. I'm gonna go ahead and show you that one. I'm gonna go. Give me a second. I'm gonna go get that. I'm gonna pull that game back up again because I want to see exactly how many yards he got against you guys. In it was 4. Hurts got the 4 touchdowns, but let's see the stats on that game. No, he only did get 66 yards rushing that game. Yeah, that's right, because Will Shipley came in the game and got 34 yards. Gainwell got 30 yards. Hurts got 56 yards. And we had a total of, 220 yards of rushing in total against you guys. That was So
you guys did running back by committee that day?
Yeah. 187 yards rushing we had that day. Just so that you know, you guys in total had 146 yards of total offense.
Yeah, I mean, in his career against the Cowboys, Saquon Barkley only averages about 60 yards, and he's only had 2 100-yard games against the Cowboys. One was 109 and one was 120. Otherwise,
that was that good year with the Giants.
Yeah, otherwise he's had 28 rushing yards, 2 carries for 9 yards, which he got hurt. 15 for 50, 14 for 81, 11 for 39, 12 for 50, 13 for 66, 13 for 66.
I mean, it doesn't sound like he was heavily involved in the game.
Which means they were probably just crushing him to the point where you didn't need him.
Well, not with the Eagles. I mean, because the Giants
or vice versa, the Giants were getting the ass
kicked the ball because they couldn't run the ball because they were behind by so much.
Yeah,
I mean that's what I kind of think. So. But, yeah, we had 187 yards rushing on your defense. And just so that you remember correctly, so that you can remember that game, that was in Dallas, if I remember correctly, because we spanked you in Dallas because I was there, in the front row, saying hi to Jerry. I'm like, "Hey, Jerry, I love what you did with the team." I remember saying that yelling up to the box up over there. "Hey, Jerry. Great what you're doing with the team. I hope you re-sign everybody. Let's run this one back."
Good thing it was Jerry and not Tepper. He'd be throwing drinks at you.
He would have had to throw that really far. I don't think Tepper's got that good of an arm.
He'd just get one of the cannons.
I think the one he throws the T-shirts out of, just get. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, I mean, I kind of expected that they weren't going to go crazy using him against the Steelers. It's like I kind of thought the opposite way, where we were playing against the Panthers and we weren't going to crazy use him, and we did. We used him. I think he had 122 yards that game. The Steelers again. I don't think they want to hurt him. You know what I mean? The Steelers have a ferocious defense. You know what I mean? That's kind of the thing. The Commanders aren't a scary defense. The Cowboys right now aren't a scary defense, and the Giants. They have a good defensive line. It's a shame that there isn't anything else. Because I think that a lot of those sacks that the Giants get are more based off of the fact that the guy's trying to, the quarterback is like, "Oh, I like everything. Let's see if we can get a long ball," and then they finally just get hit. Just me. Oh no, Joe. Oh, you're going to tell me now about all the injuries that you had and that your team stinks when you have the backup players in there. If I remember correctly, Micah Parsons played in that game, right? Because Cooper Rush doesn't play defense.
I mean, Cooper Rush has a better record this year than Dak Prescott.
Does have a better record than Dak Prescott.
He's got better numbers than Dak Prescott.
But Jerry was right. He's like, "Oh, we should be better without Dak." Well, turns out
you actually are better without Dak. So
at least Dak's expensive.
At least Dak is shiny.
That's right.
Is he shiny? Is that what that is? Let's take a look at. Let's go back and talk about the. So they beat the Browns in Week 1. That was a good game. You guys did in Week 1.
Does anybody know what Cooper Rush's record is as a starting quarterback?
It's actually decent.
So Dak Prescott played against the Steelers and won that game. Against the Lions, was that the game that they lost? Let's see if Dak Prescott played in that game. He had 2 interceptions against the Lions and a 42.2 passer rating. So at that point, he was 3-3. 3-3 this year. They had the bye week. Then they lost against the 49ers. Hold on. What's 7-3?
Rush. It's got to be better than that, Joe. Like, I know he's started more than 10 games.
No, he didn't.
The Cowboys are 8-4 with Cooper Rush as a starter.
Not this year, he ain't.
No. All time. They're 8-4 with Cooper Rush as a starter.
Yeah.
But in games where Cooper Rush has played at least 15 snaps, so basically in games where he's played at least almost a half of football, the Cowboys are 25-11.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Is he's actually played really well.
Yeah,
okay.
He's 8-4 as a starter.
So Dak got hurt in the Atlanta game. Is when he got hurt. So, and they lost to Atlanta. So realistically, because that loss would probably go to Dak.
It does. If you start the game, you get the win or loss. So even if you're only in there for one play, if you start the game, you get the win or the loss.
Actually, right now, Cooper is 3-3.
Mm-hmm.
He's beaten the Panthers, the Giants, and the Commanders at Commanders.
Yep. Yeah, he's 8-4 as a starter all time with 17 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So that's actually very solid numbers across the board.
Yeah, no, that's good numbers.
Yeah.
It makes you think that he's going to play for a different team next year.
So here's his numbers. All he's at a 60% completion rating. He's got a total rating of 84.1. He's thrown for 1,405 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's taken 11 sacks, and he's fumbled twice. He's actually fumbled 9 times. He's lost 2 of them, and he's rushed for 20 yards, which is a whole lot of nothing.
Yep. I mean, overall though, that's not terrible numbers out of a backup.
No.
Right. Well, and he's a redhead, so
I mean,
See,
look at
so
look.
he doesn't have a soul to get in the way, so that's good.
Well, I mean, look at it. Look at it this way: if he was a starter all year and he was sitting at like 8-4, 9-4 right now, the Cowboys would be the number 6 or number 7 seed in the playoffs. So, like, Cooper Rush has basically played at a playoff level quarterback on the starts that he's gotten.
no. All right, here are the games that the Cowboys have won. The Panthers, they've lost to the Bengals,
Mm-hmm.
they've beaten the Giants, they've beaten the Commanders, they've lost to the Texans, they lost to the Eagles, they lost to the Falcons. In all the games that he played, at least 15 snaps.
Yeah, and the only win against a playoff caliber team was Washington, because the other
Right.
two teams are battling for the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
And he was able to beat the Commanders in Washington, which was actually
No, that's a good win. That's a good win.
oh, and that's right. They missed the extra point. You remember that? Because then they kicked the onside kick and he ran it in for a touchdown.
Yep.
So he missed the extra point. Cooper Rush has lost twice to the Eagles. Yeah, he can't beat the Eagles.
Yep.
Yeah, we are a rush killer. So plus,
But all of that-
you know what I do expect. You know
There's
what I
no
do
big
expect.
All of that to say there's no big game for Dallas.
Right. I do expect Micah Parsons to have a really good game because I know that he wants to come play for the Eagles next year. He wants to be on a championship team.
I mean, that's not going to be the Cowboys next year, that's for sure.
Are you sure?
Well, you know what? Not compared to all the Cowboys fans. They're already saying that next year's our year.
That's right. We them boys or whatever. Yep.
So,
Yeah,
but
that
anyway,
roster is going to be. I will say that their off season is going to be interesting to watch, because that roster is going to have some move.
I so hope that they make them do Hard Knocks. You know, and you could even
Depend on the coach. It'll
the
depend on
revamp of American Team.
Yeah,
Haven't-
it'll just depend on who ends up being the coach there, right? If it's McCarthy, they probably don't. But if you get a new coach in there, they might.
No. Actually, if you get a new coach, you can't.
Oh, you can't do it in the first year of a coach?
No, they
okay.
ask that does not happen. So
gotcha.
it's ultimately it can only happen if McCarthy is the coach.
I mean, that seems like a good enough train wreck that, could still work, I guess.
Parsons isn't going to go anywhere. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know that he's going to come to Philly, but I don't think he's going to stay in Dallas.
Yeah, I think money dictates that he doesn't stay in Dallas.
I think that so the reason why I was told he wouldn't come to Philadelphia is actually a very unique reason.
Okay.
I mean, he's a fairly local guy, and he does not want to deal with his family and having to try to get tickets for every game.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds ridiculous, but that sounds like so much more of the right reason. Like, not the right reason in terms of for us, but the reason on why you wouldn't want to go to a team.
Yeah,
You know?
you wouldn't want the distractions. Like, I'm perfectly fine if that's the real reason. Like, that's a smart reason not to go.
Right. 100%. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm sure he gets questions for tickets anyways, but
Oh, sure.
if he does, he's like, man, I don't want to have to deal with all my people. You know what I mean? Everybody calling every week. Oh, can I get this game? Can I get this game? I need to see you against Dallas. I got that circled on my calendar. I need everybody. You got to get 2,000 tickets
Yeah,
because
right.
we want to see you beat the hell out of Dallas. You know what I mean? Like, I see that happening.
No. He said he wants to retire some Cowboys, so he's just going to hit them and make them quit.
Exactly. I thought he said he wants to retire and be a cowboy. Like, he wants to go ride a horse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man.
And I want you to send over that clip, Joe, or else it didn't happen.
That's right.
And I don't want to see a clip from 3 years ago. It's got to be a clip this year. I have him saying, "I want to retire a Cowboy." Save the horse, ride a Cowboy. He's holding on to hope as best he can. I need something, guys. Please. All
Right?
I have is Jay.
Yep. And he only shows up once a week, so man.
A blazing saddle.
Yep.
That was a fun movie. That was a great movie. They can't show that on TV ever again. That'll never be made for TV. That can only ever be shown on like a Netflix or an Amazon. You
Yeah.
have to buy it. They will never ever show that on broadcast television.
Said it on his podcast. Okay. Well, I mean, he has to say that because he's trying to get paid. So,
Right. And his podcast has as many viewers as ours does. So
right. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing is he's not going to talk bad about him, especially right now, because they haven't paid him yet. So he has to.
And did he say it after he talked all that smack? Is that what happened? Talked all that smack and he had to recant half of it and then say, "Oh, I really want
probably.
To, I really want to be a Cowboy for the rest of my life."
Right. Please pay me. Man.
Never a dull moment on this show. I tell you, we always have the best things going on.
That's right. So what do you guys got going on the rest of the day?
So because it's me, never a dull moment in my life. I am going to be judging a ugly sweater competition at a PJ Wheelahands for Garage Beer.
Okay.
So if you are anywhere near the PJ Wheelahands in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and you have an ugly Christmas sweater, wear it and go to there, and you will see you will get judged by the Philly Sports Guy, and you could win. I don't know what you're winning, but you could win. And after which, I am then going and racing back across the bridge to go to Brandon Graham's Toy Drive. That's happening
Nice.
over in Havertown, Pennsylvania. So if you have a toy that you have in the wrapper still that you don't want, go and bring it to, hold on, I'll tell you exactly because I don't want to get that wrong. Since they are doing their thing. Where's she at? There we go. It's at the Yard Pub. The Yard Pub in Havertown. Go bring your gifts. Get to go see BG and other players. I'm not allowed to say those other players because, I'm not allowed to say.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And since we're talking about this, on Christmas Day, yours truly is going to be bartending in my living room, and we are going to have the unwanted Christmas Pollyanna. So if you got a present you don't want, put it back in a Christmas bag, save a Christmas bag, put it in there, bring it to the bar. We're going to have the unwanted Christmas Pollyanna where you're going to get stuck with another gift that somebody else don't want.
That's right. But yes, no adult toys.
Yeah, that's a whole different type of party.
Yep. Now for me, if as long as the rain actually stops, it's been raining all day today, but if it stops, then I will end up at Angel of the Winds Arena doing part of a promo for our arena team. So hopefully the rain can move along and I can actually get some work done.
It's like 61 degrees here today.
Oh yeah,
it's 61 degrees here today. It's going to be 29 degrees on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well.
So this weather is Pew. I don't
It's
like
gonna-
it. I don't like
Yeah,
it.
it's 42 and raining here. So
It's going to be very cold for the college football playoffs this weekend too.
Hey, yeah, and I also want to give a big shout out to mascot Troy. He came up and he had to deal with all us Eagles fans at the bar and whatever, and they loved having him here. I tell you, he looks like Troy Polamalu.
oh right.
And yeah, that's why he goes by mascot Troy. He definitely looks like him, and they loved having him here. It was a great time. He got to witness the Philly sports guy in all of his splendor, and he took the loss on the chin, just like he was supposed to, because I knew that they don't win in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia ever. So
Yeah, that is for sure. Absolutely. Well, I mean, that gets us to the top of the hour. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Shout out to everybody that has subscribed. Hit 800 this morning. So that is awesome. If you're watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. And other than that, we will see you guys tomorrow. Take it easy,
yeah,
everybody.
Chris, the governor doesn't drink. No, so he didn't try any.
That's right.